Welcome back to Database DevOps from start to finish. This is the additional features section where we look at what else SQL Server data tools can do. In this lesson, we're going to look at one of my favorite features, and that is refactoring. So let's go right to our database and let's propose a scenario. Let's say we created this on our own and our boss came to us and said, Tim, I don't like the fact that this is singular. These tables are singular, and I don't like that. I want to have plural table names. Now, if you have an existing database that's already in production or you're already using it, and you've already created your store procedures, your views, your other objects, and your boss wants you to change a table name, that's a big deal. Let's look at what this all might affect. So if I were to say, let's just pick location for right now. If I were to change it to locations, well, I have the SP location uses the location table. I'd need to change that. SP person uses the location table. I would need to change that as well. And that's just a simple example. So how do we do this? Well, in SQL Server Data Tools, I open up my table, I say location, and now I can say refactor, rename. The new name is locations. Whoops, jumped the gun. Back to location. I do it backwards at least once. So refactor on location, rename, and say the new name is locations. There we go. We can preview the changes. We hit OK. Here's all the places it's going to make a change. In the SP location underscore people visited, we're going to change it to locations instead of location. In the SP person underscore locations visited, it's going to be down here, location. In the right here in, let's see what it is, constraint. That's what it is. It's a foreign key constraint. We have locations instead of location. I probably would have missed that one. So those are all places where location will change to locations. Hit apply, and we're done. Now, if you go to Team Explorer and look at changes, notice that it has changed. We can ignore this one right here. That's our schema compare. But the rest, 2 store procedures, 2 tables, we have a refactoring log, and we have our project. So all of that has been changed because we renamed one table in just a simple little project. Now I can do the same thing for location visits. I can say they should be plural location visits. So I right click, refactor, rename, put the S on the end, hit OK. It's going to change it in 2 places. I hit apply. I save everything. Now let's go to the person table. This is a bigger one, so right click, refactor, rename. It's not person, it's people. Hit OK, and that's going to change it in a number of locations. Hit apply, and now we'll also change the phone number to be phone numbers. Hit OK. It's going to change it in one location. Hit apply. We save that. We've changed pretty much everything in our database. And yet, it's not been a big deal. We just renamed things. Now, we also have in the location visits, locations table, which is still named location, not locations. So notice that the table name itself, the script, is called location. We'd need to rename that script. So add the S on there, add the S on here. This does not change anything else. This is just the actual script name. We'd want to be consistent though. So under locations, we have location name and location. Remember we said that was pretty horrible? We really should have, instead of location name, we should have something better like point of interest. So right-click, refactor, rename. This is on a column. We're going to call this point of interest. Hit OK. It's going to rename that. And it's going to be in a stored procedure as well. So it's a point of interest. We hit OK. And now that stored procedure has the point of interest, not location, as the, or location, yeah, I think it was location. No, location name, that's what it was. So confusing. So now it says point of interest, which makes it much more clear as to what it is. This is the point of interest, and this is the location where it's at. Probably we should rename this table to something besides locations, maybe something more like points of interest, or something similar. But I think for now we'll leave it at location. So with all those changes being done, what I'd do next is I'd publish this. So double click on publish. I say publish. It's going to change an awful lot of things in my database, which is done already, but we already had data in those columns. So if we go here and go to databases and look at our person DB, let's pin this, and let's open up, let's close everything else out. Let's open up our table for, notice, locations, location visits, people, and phone numbers. They're the plurals. Let's look at people. If we go to view data, it still has all of our data there. It's just that the table is now named people, not person. Same thing with locations. We rename the table, but there's still the same locations in the list. Also notice point of interest is a Statue of Liberty or Golden Gate Bridge, not location name. So within a few short minutes, I was able to, while explaining it, rename 4 different tables, rename a column, and make sure that those names, those new names, are used throughout my entire database instead of the old names. Imagine trying to do this in SSMS. If you've not done it before, basically it's a manual hunt for where all those names are. It's problematic at best. And so if you have a very large database with lots of different objects besides just tables, like you have views and store procedures, then it's almost impossible to rename a column or a table. And in fact, mostly we don't. But with this tool, you can do that even after you've gone way down the road of putting this into production and having things depend on it. Now, there's still the issue of if something is depending on it externally, like a C# application, if it's expecting the person table and you now have the people table, that might be a problem. But at least that's the problem now, not that and trying to find all these different locations inside your database itself. So really easy to refactor your database, rename things, change things around, and have it apply across the board without having to worry about, did I get every single location? Did I remember every foreign key constraint? Those are the ones that I usually forget. So now this is done. Now as to demonstrate, I am going to select everything in the person DB folder to stage. So everything but that schema compare file. And I'm going to say refactored database. Or refactor database. Made database changes to naming. Close enough. I hit commit staged. And now if I sync this and push it up to the Azure DevOps, and we go back to Azure DevOps and go to commits, I can now see that this refactored database is there. I can see just the things that have been changed. So I changed from db.locations, or to db.locations from db.location. And then all the other changes as well. Create table location, I deleted that and added create table locations. I removed location name and instead have point of interest. So all these changes, but notice these changes right here. I removed a column and added a column. but yet when I modified or ran that publish, it didn't destroy what was in that column. Because it's smart enough to know, oh, this is a column rename, and that's a non-breaking change. And I can take care of making sure I don't lose any data in how I do this update script. And so that update script is a really smart update script, and it knows how to do that work. Okay, so there's our commit now. I could say, you know what, I don't want to have that commit, I want to roll back. And I could do so. I can go back to this point in time with our database. Okay, so that's all there is to refactoring. Next, we'll look at how to deploy our database.